Oh, hey y'all. Thanks for watching my video. It's 1:15 in the morning, and I have another video that I want to make um, that is provocative and fits better in with the theme of this channel, which is angry ranting. But this one is different. This is just more inspirational and instructive. Um, and it's a question that really bothered me for a majority of my life. And I think a lot of people struggle with it. So I wanted to make this one really quick, and I'll get back to the other angry ranting one hopefully another time if I still have the inspiration to do it. I have the inspiration to do the angry ranting one right now, but it's late, and my son gave me this book called The One Thing by Gary Keller of Keller Realty fame. And so my one thing, which I've shared with my son as well, is to go to bed early. And obviously it's 1:15 in the morning, so I failed at that. So if I do my angry ranting video, I'll be up for another 2 hours, by the time I make it and then upload it and all that, because this stuff takes a long time. That's why I have so much respect for these YouTube video creators, because they make some really great videos. Mine obviously are very crude. It's just me holding my phone out with my hand and talking, and then I just upload it raw. I don't do any, I don't do any video production or anything like that. No, people put like little, they pick special thumbnails. They have intro songs. I mean, all kind of stuff, and they have a really organized, focused channel, and they, anyway. So how do you know God's will anyway? Like for me right now, I was just sitting here in the kitchen debating. It's like, do I make that angry ranting video that'll probably be at least a half an hour long, and then it'll take a while to upload, or do I go to bed, And whenever, for a believer, for a Christian, or even for any type of a spiritual person, really, because Christians talk to God, spiritual people talk to Source, or Allah, or I don't know, like Source, or their inner self, or just whatever, different. I'm not saying they're all the same. I'm just saying that Christians are not the only people who are spiritual. That's all I'm saying. So how do you know? And for a Christian, it's always like, growing up in the church, it was like there was always stress associated with the questions. Like, so confusing. How do we know? How are we supposed to know? And I'm 55 now, and for better or for worse, I'm not sure. Experientially, it's better, but in terms of truth, I'm not 100% sure it's better. But I have a lot of confidence in this particular question right now, at this point in my life. And the answer to the question, I've decided, is that it's a matter of faith, right? So in other words, if you ask God for guidance, and then you believe that he's going to answer, then there's no room for stress or worry or internal conflict even, really, in that equation. In other words, like with me tonight, I was praying, like, should I stay up and do the angry ranting video, which is the theme of the channel, or should I go to bed and be consistent with my one thing, which is to go to bed? It's like a success principle. The one thing you do, one thing, and it follows Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So that's why it's one thing. So I basically prayed, and then I had a little conversation with God. I'm like, well, my imagination is telling me to stay up, because like I said, I have that inspiration to do it. And honestly, inspiration is very fleeting. So like tomorrow, I might not even feel like doing it. I might not even want to do it. I might not even remember what the heck I was going to say, So my inspiration and my imagination is saying to stay up and do it. But my practical mind is saying, no, you really need to go to bed, because you have a ton of things to do tomorrow. You have to work, so on and so forth. And my personality is, I usually follow my inspiration and my imagination. Everybody's different. Some people are 100% practical. They follow their practical mind. I'm like 97% inspiration, imagination. That's just the way I'm wired. Head in the clouds, feet on the ground. But my feet are usually Some people never get their head in the clouds and their feet are always on the ground. Some people have their head in the clouds and their feet are not on the ground. I'm the guy that doesn't have his feet on the ground. I have my head in the clouds most of the time. So I just I've come to the conclusion that everything, literally everything we do, is an act of faith if we're doing it right. And as a result of that belief, I'm kind of an enemy of certainty, even though I've been told that I speak in very absolute terms. I don't know. I don't know how to, actually I do know how to resolve that. But anyway, I speak in absolute terms, but ultimately at the end of the day, at the end of everything that you give me the chance to say whatever I have to say, at the end of it I'll say, but that's just my opinion, and your opinion is as valuable as mine is, So when I pray and ask God, I believe for guidance, I believe that He's going to answer that prayer. And then I just make a decision and I just trust that whatever decision I've made is a decision that's inspired by Him. Now, the only thing you have to be concerned about is the issue of, basically like sin, Like if I pray and ask God, should I rob a bank? And then I go rob a bank. I don't think I can legitimately say, well, God told me to rob the bank. And I ask Him for guidance. And so I made a decision and then, So I mean, outside of that, the consideration, but I mean, robbing a bank, it's not that, and I know why people get confused sometimes because it's not, in real life, it's not that simple. Like our natural impulses for personal ambition and things like jealousy and vengeance and things like that get in the mix. So I guess my arm's getting sore. You have to take, if in the process of making a decision, you can make the determination that the reason you're deciding what you're deciding is because you are, you have some personal interest that's overriding. But it's not necessarily that simple either because all personal interests are not bad, But I mean, as long as it's not a bad personal interest, like as long as you're not doing it because you're bitter, because you want vengeance, or because you're jealous, or because it's, just something stupid to do because it's folly, like you want to go spend $1,000 but you don't have $1,000, different stuff like that, right? I mean, so eliminating the obvious reasons why something might not be God's will. If you have two basically equal options, like with me going to bed or staying up, they're basically kind of equal. I mean, I've already blown the one thing. I've already blown the go to bed early. It's almost 1:30 now. So I've already blown that. So they're kind of equal, So I just make a decision and go with it. And then I just trust God. So, I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it's just a matter of faith, really. I mean, even to an extent, even the issue of personal interests that are kind of even questionable, you can put those in God's hands too, right? Because we only have so much power. We only have so much willpower. I mean, that's true for everybody. Like the saying goes, everybody has a price. And like a guy might turn down, let's just, for the sake of ease of conversation, let's just use money because it's easy to enumerate or quantify, as opposed to other things. But let's just say that, one guy might turn down $100,000 when there is some type of an ethical or moral issue involved, right? But maybe if he was offered 10 million, right, it'd be a different story. Or 2 billion. So they say everybody has their price, right? And I really think that that's true. Because when the right number and the right circumstances are presented to people, people get real creative with their ethical and moral justifications, right? I mean, very creative, like literally. I mean, I'm kind of laughing like it's funny, but it's not funny, but it is funny. It's not, but it is. People can be extraordinarily creative, you know? And that's how all these powerful people fall from grace. It's not like we would do a better job than they did if we were in their position. No, in my mind, it's like we would never even get to their position because we would fall sooner than they did. You know, the reason they have so much power is because they are more ethically and morally pure. But everybody has their price. It doesn't matter who they are. You know, so really, if we haven't fallen, it's by the grace of God. It's not because we're great. You know, it's just because we haven't been presented with a situation that really tested our moral and ethical mettle. You know, M-A-T-T-L-E, mettle, that kind of mettle. So how do you know the will of God? It's you know, it's faith. I mean, that's all it is. You pray and then you decide. You know, and maybe your decision is imperfect. Okay, well, it's imperfect. I tell you what, every decision we make is imperfect by the standard of actual literal perfection. I mean, actual literal perfection is beyond our reach, right? So that shouldn't even be a question. It's imperfect, you know. But God is the one who gives us the ability to make the decisions that we make, you know. And it's really powerful. It's a really powerful truth because the sociologists and the child experts and all whatever psychologists, you know, they tell us that I think it's 80% of our character is formed by the time we're 7 years old. So we don't even really have that much to do with our own character. You know, it's all by the grace of God. You know, if you have the character to withstand $1 billion temptation, well, that's because by the time you were 7 years old, you already had that character. You see what I'm saying? So everything is by the grace of God anyway. So just pray and make a decision and then trust God that, you know, that He answered your prayer. And then when you do that, you're being faithful to the Word of God because the Word of God continually says, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't be afraid, don't worry. You know, in the book of Psalms it says, don't fret because that only leads to sin. You know, so worry only leads to sin to begin with. Fretting only leads to sin. So, like I said, growing up in the church, and I think for a lot of people even still today, the issue of how do I know God's will? It's a question that is fraught with worry, right? So that's a pretty big paradox, right? You're trying to know God's will, but it's leading you to do the question of knowing God's will is leading you to do something that the Bible explicitly over and over and over again says don't do, don't fret, don't worry, don't be afraid, you know? So, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. And I think it's cool. And I'm grateful. And I thank God for the fact that He's given me so much peace at this late stage in my life. Or it's not really late because I have this theory that my second 55 years is going to be 100 times better than my first 55 years. So, you know, this middle stage of my life, I guess. God has extended to me the grace to have a peace about something that I didn't have a peace about for a long, long time, and that honestly a lot of people never have for their entire life. So, okay, I'll stop rambling now, and thanks for watching my video. I hope that you find some encouragement in this, and don't worry, I'll get back to angry ranting later, but right now I got to go to bed. God bless you. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, it is Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. Okay, good night. Bye.